when I set up the business, I looked back over that time, and exactly as you said, it's a really tough time when relationships are not going as you'd like them to, as the fairy tale's not happening for you. People on both sides of the fence, it's the hidden truth, the twisted truth, the blatant lies happen because it's hard.
You're listening to the MILF Podcast. This is the show where we talk about motherhood and sexuality with amazing women with fascinating stories to share on the joys of being a MILF. Now here's your host, the MILFiest MILF I know, Jennifer Tracy.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is MILF Podcast, the show where we talk about balancing motherhood, entrepreneurship, sex, romance, all of it. I'm Jennifer Tracy, your host. Last week on the show, we had actress Kathryn Hahn. That was such an amazing interview. And today on the show, we have Elly Johnson, who came to me through Harry Duran, my producer. Elly is such a treasure. She hunted me down through LinkedIn and said, let's meet. So we met, I'm air quoting, through a video chat just to kind of see if we liked each other. And it was just instant like. And I said, you must be on the show. And so we booked it. And several weeks later, I interviewed her long distance. We had to deal with the time difference and the internet. And we had several issues, but we made it and we made the interview happen. And her story is amazing. I really, really overuse the word amazing, but it's because I have so many amazing women on their show. So Elly is a truth expert. How she came to that title is really a fascinating story. So I really hope you enjoy this episode. And thanks so much for listening, guys. Hi, Elly.
Hi, Jennifer.
We just went through it is the full moon tonight where I am. Well, where you are too. It's still full moon all over the world. But the two of us figured it out thanks to Elly's suggestion of using a different platform. And here we are. So,
gotta love tech.
You were just about to tell me about this new program that you're developing, and I was so excited to hear about it. So do you mind starting over again on that?
Yeah, it's a short and sharp and sweet program that I'm putting together. Actually, after we finish our call, I'm starting it. And it's designed to, rather than have people sit down and watch hours of video, I want to do 26 short videos. It's the A to Z of getting more truth and spotting deception. I wondered if I could find 26 different things that matched the letters of the alphabet. Wow. So when I was crafting it, it all came together beautifully. So that's what I'm filming soon, and that's going to post it on LinkedIn.
Wow. And is that going to be a course like from your website that we can, or you're just posting it on LinkedIn for people to get?
Yeah, look, eventually it will. I'll put it together in something a little bit more formal, but I know that the idea of getting more truth and spotting deception is something that a lot of people want to know more about. So I thought, what can I do that won't take a lot of time to put together and that people can access for free? And so that's where I'm at the moment. But yes, I'll formalize it and make it a little bit meatier at some point. But
I love it. I can't wait to go on LinkedIn and try it, because I'm always seeking truth and different forms of truth, my truth, what's true for my family. And so how did you come to this? Tell me a little bit about your background, because it's so fascinating. I know a bit about your story, but I want to share with our listeners.
Okay. So I work in the space of truth and lies, and I have done so with a lot of focus for almost 20 years. But my fascination with the topic started when I was a 22-year-old rookie police officer. and I realized that shortly after graduating from the police academy and being thrown into the deep end of policing, I realized that one of the core responsibilities of a police officer, as you would expect, is getting information from people and being able to seek the truth, get the truth, to make good decisions to either put someone into prison or not put them in prison, or witnesses and victims and suspects and so on. And I saw a gap in my knowledge. Even though I was fresh out of the academy, I thought I knew more than what I did. But when I was thrown into situations where I needed to get the truth from suspects, then I realized how difficult it was to do. Why would somebody give you information that's against their own self-interest? And I reflected back on what I'd learned in the curriculum and how much focus we'd spent on that. And there really wasn't a lot. even though it was one of the core responsibilities of a police officer. So that's where my fascination started, and it grew over time. And I read lots, and I tried lots, and I practiced lots, and I studied lots. And then when I left the police force and joined the corporate world, I was still interested, obviously, in the topic, and I saw the same problem, I guess. So although it wasn't policing, I saw that a lot of people were in roles or positions or responsibilities where they needed to really get the truth from people, but they had not stopped to think about what some of those barriers were to be able to get the truth from people. So, for example, people working in recruitment and selecting candidates, if you get that wrong, if somebody lies to you and you make a decision based on misinformation, that can be very, very costly to a small business or a large business.
Sure.
Leaders not understanding the truth of how their staff and their team are feeling can change the whole culture of a team or an organisation. And then you've got more sinister lies around, security issues and theft of information and corruption and so on. So, it's a huge topic that everyone has an interest in, whether it's they're in the boardroom or the interview room or the lunchroom or the bedroom. It's really an important topic. So, yeah, that's a snapshot.
That's amazing. I mean, I'm so fascinated by this. And just listening to you talk, I'm thinking about all the white lies that I tell on a daily basis just to
but we all do
people or make it easy for myself, or even like, I hate to admit this, but I'm going to, sometimes I'm just going to say fib because it makes myself feel better. But sometimes I'll lie to my child about something because I just want him to act a certain way, and there's a selfishness to that, I think, but there's also just like a survival mechanism to it as well. And I mean, let's not even talk about romantic relationships. Like that's, I mean, do you find that so you coach clients, you have private clients, you have groups, you do all kinds, you speak all over the world about this.
Yeah. So since 2001, that's where I started the business with, to be able to utilize the skills that I developed and knowledge that I developed over the years. And the co-founder of the business is Australia's leading polygraph operator. So we kind of got together with all our various experiences and interests and created a company that was focused on helping people to conduct better interviews, to be able to elicit information, read behaviour, read body language, influence for the truth, but also spot signs of harmful deception. And listening to you say that you lie to your child and we lie to our partners, we all do. But Jennifer, we all do. Like if you actually consciously tracked how many lies you tell in a week, you'll be horrified.
I'm sure I would.
So, and this is, that everyone is. Some people actually have done that, and I've started it, and I got to the numbers were getting too high. But even the lies that you think about telling a lie, you may not actually do it, but you think in lies sometimes.
Yes.
You didn't call somebody back, and you want to then get in touch with them and tell them why you didn't call them back. Already the lie starts. What should I say? Should I say, I'm sorry, I was so busy? Should I say, I'm sorry, my phone battery went dead? And then what you end up telling them, you may tell the truth, or you probably will tell a version of that lie. So we actually kind of think in lies a lot as well.
Why is that?
Because for some of the reasons you mentioned before, like we don't want to hurt people's feelings, or we don't want to be embarrassed, or we don't want to be confronted with our own laziness sometimes. And so we come up with excuses and reasons to cover our butt, to keep the peace, and that's okay. So it's not, my mission isn't about saying to everyone, you know what, you have to tell the truth 100% of the time.
Right.
Because I don't think that's how we're wired, and I don't think that's how the culture of humans, kind of works. But also I think that we can sit back and think about, we like more truth from people. We expect more truth. We don't like dishonesty. We get upset when somebody lies to us.
Yeah.
We might break up a relationship because he lied to us, or we might, we get upset if our boss lies to us, or we don't have the truth. But then when we rewind and look at our own behaviours, I think there's a lot that we can do to tweak our own behaviours and our own self-awareness about the truth we tell or the truth that we don't tell.
And there's a story I want you to tell, and I can't remember when it happened to you, how old you were, but I remember you were at the horse races. Do you mind telling us that story?
That's a really old story. Okay, and that's probably actually where my fascination in truth really kicked off. And yeah, I was only 17 or 18, and my boyfriend at the time, we'd been going out for about a year, and we were at the races, and he walked off to put a bet on, and I walked off to get a drink, but I saw him sitting on a bench chair talking to a girl, and then I recognized the girl was his ex-girlfriend. And that's okay. Like, they'd broken up. We'd been together a long time. But he came back to me and he put his bet on. And I said, oh, where did you go? I put the bet on. Did you do anything else? No, I didn't. Did you see anyone else? No, no, no. Of course, in that situation, when you've got ground truth and you know the truth, you know that someone is lying. In a lot of situations, we don't know because we don't have ground truth. We're just fishing for information. But I had ground truth there, and I was sitting looking into his face, looking eye to eye, and he was blatantly lying to me. And I said, did you talk to anyone else? No, what are you talking about? And so, I sort of pushed it a bit further because I thought, this is amazing that he's lying to my face.
He's burying himself and doesn't even know it.
It is. And the thing is, when you tell a lie and you consciously tell a lie, you've got to invent another lie to cover that first one.
Yes.
And that's where people come unstuck fairly quickly, because you can't really think through, what am I going to say then? What am I going to say then? What am I going to say then? And that's where a lot of criminals come unstuck, where they tell a lie. I wasn't there, I was here. And good investigators bring them unstuck pretty quickly. But in this case, I actually said to Craig, all right, imagine that I know the truth. I'm going to ask you a question again. When you went to put the bet on, did you talk to anyone else? And he looked at me and he said, absolutely not.
Oh my God.
And I was fascinated, thinking, isn't it amazing that when somebody has told a lie, how they're so wedded to that lie, even though his logical brain might be signaling, hang on, I think she might have a clue. So I pushed it further and I said, I don't like lies and I really want the truth. And, the truth is okay. I just don't want you to lie. And he goes, I don't know what you're talking about. I just put a bet on. That's it. And then I came back. And so that really sort of kick-started my fascination with people's behaviour around truthfulness, and even when they're confronted with that sort of situation.
Yes.
We ended up breaking up. I mean, we probably had some other things going on, but I just thought, you know what? No, that's not okay.
Yeah.
But we're not. I don't put myself as somebody on a pedestal that always tells the truth either. I look back on situations in my life where I think I could have done better, and I should have been more honest. And that's my mission moving forward, is to try to be more honest and authentic and truthful, even when it gets hard, even when it's tough.
Yeah.
And also to encourage people to do that too.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard to learn unless you've had that modeled. I know I didn't really in my family. Like, there's a graceful way to be honest and still be kind and deliver, your side of the truth. Because again, like, there's two, I guess, how do you feel about that phrase? There's two sides to the truth. Do you agree with that? Disagree with that?
There's probably more than two, I'd say, because you have your truth. I have my truth. You have your truth, and then if you were a third person outside looking in, then you would have another perspective to it. So you've got all your biases and your filters and your conditioning and your map of the world that impacts on how you view something, how you see something. So my truth might be completely different to your truth, but we're both right. So that's different between dishonesty or lying. That's just your map of the world and your belief system.
Yes, your perspective, your worldview. Yeah. Based on your pathos and your past and stuff. So when you're 18, you had that relationship, and then you went to the police academy. So young. How did you know you wanted to be?
I was 21 when I went in. So I graduated.
Okay.
I graduated on my 22nd birthday. So
wow. How did you know so young that you wanted to be an officer? That's a very specific, demanding, I would think, I don't know from experience, a very demanding profession. Risking your life and so forth?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't something that I always grew up thinking I wanted to do. It was like I met some other police where I was working, and I thought, that sounds like something fun.
I mean, it's also like just and knowing you now and getting to see you and like talking to you, it's really sexy. Like, oh my God. Shoot, when I found out who you were, we connected on via LinkedIn actually, and I looked you up and I was like, oh, that's hot. She was like, hot. Like, that's so sexy. It is. There's something sexy about it. And I'm not talking about in an objectifying way, although that is probably present. And I'm sure I want to ask you how that was being a female police officer. Yeah. But the power that comes with being in that role and to be a woman in that role, there's something sexy about having the dominance of that. Yeah. So anyway, but I got off track. So sorry. So what made you, let's start with what made you want to do that, pursue that?
Yeah. It just seemed to fit. It seemed to make sense to me. And, I think picking up on what you're saying, the sexy part probably is, as a woman, you can still have your femininity, but you get to also find your inner strength and power, because you have to have it in that role. Yes. Because you're making fast decisions for potentially your life or somebody else's life.
Yes.
And you're making decisions about members of the public, where you want them to be or what you want them to do, or how there's a lot of inner strength that you need to find to be able to make those just, men, women, we can all do it. But I think some of the traditional roles of women are not to use that strength. And that's changing over the years. But it's a very male dominated industry still.
Yes.
Still.
And what was it like being, were you one of few women on in the force?
Look, there was in our squad, I think there was five women and 25 men.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe six women. Yeah, so that I don't know what the ratio is sort of these days, but that's what it was quite a few years ago. And a lot of women struggled once they got into that role too, because it's a boys' club. It was a boys' club. So you had to fit in to the boys' club in a way to become one of the boys.
How did you, was there like a hazing process? Were they mean to you? Did they harass you at all?
I guess I'm fortunate I have whatever it is that I have, I'm able to adapt fairly well to different situations and settings. So I didn't struggle too much. I could be one of the girls and be one of the boys, and that seemed to go okay. But I saw a lot of women struggling with that would be offended by the boy talk and the boy behaviour, and they'd say, that's so disrespectful, and it's so this and it's so that, and therefore they would get offside with the guys, and then it would just snowball from there. And,
yeah. And then this is a random question. Do you guys carry firearms there? Do you carry guns? You do? Okay. I didn't know, because I think I might be misinformed, but I feel like in Britain they don't. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, I think that's changed. Or changing. But yes, you're right. They didn't used to.
They didn't used to. Okay. Curious. Just because I'm thinking of you said, life-threatening situations, and I'm like, God, that would be so scary to be in that and not have, I don't own a gun and I wouldn't know how to use one.
Yeah.
But to be in your position, and so I'm sorry, I'm getting off track because I'm just so fascinated with this story. Your whole story. It's because it's a big part of your trajectory and how you got to where you are and how you're so inspired in what you talk about now. So, but interesting, tiny little fact is that you met your husband in your squad, right?
That's right.
Your ex-husband now, but
so we were squad mates, and then when I left the police force, that's when we actually got together properly. But it didn't turn out like he's a good guy, but it just, for whatever reason, we sort of, that momentum didn't continue, and I kind of fell out of love and didn't know how to get it back, and so it just sort of fizzled, it dissolved, and we had two little girls, and so it was a hard time. It was a sad time. I wished I could have kept the fire going, but I didn't know how.
And how, kind of going with this theme of truth and honesty, and how was it in that stretch of time? I mean, I'm just recently divorced, very, very recently divorced. So I know there's this, talk about truth and honesty and really coming to someone and saying, I'm feeling this way and I think we should move on. And it's for me and most women I know who've been through it, it's a long process of that. Really having those conversations. So how did you sort of integrate everything that and are inspired by? Were you at that time doing your company, or were you still in the corporate world?
still in the corporate world at that time. And so I think that's where a lot of my lessons also, when I set up the business, I looked back over that time, and exactly as you said, it's a really tough time when relationships are not going as you'd like them to, as the fairy tale's not happening for you. People on both sides of the fence, it's the hidden truth, the twisted truth, the blatant lies happen because it's hard. We don't learn this stuff at school.
Yeah.
Like there's no, and yes, there's relationship books out there, but what if you haven't read the right one, or what if it's a really hard time. And so there's so many other factors that bubble up. And now with hindsight, and I say this to a lot of my clients too, is to educate yourself more around communication, around speaking up, around the truth. And because there are a lot more resources out there now, because we think we should have the ability to do it. But when it gets tough, and when there's emotions involved, and when there's hearts involved, speaking the truth, it can be really, really difficult, because you don't want to hurt someone's feeling, or you're not even sure of what the truth is in your own head.
Yes.
I should feel this way, and you have people saying you should be doing this, and you could speak to 5 different friends and they'll all give you different advice.
Yes.
Like, okay, what's right? What's wrong? What should I do? What shouldn't I do? And then, there's temptations, and people go and have affairs, or they get drawn to somebody because they're so confused, or they're seeking, attention or affection or whatever they are. So it's a messy time for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's a tough one. But and you think about it, like with relationships, a lot of us do very little research and study. We do more study for, or put more action into going to get a new job than we do getting a relationship, or when we're in a relationship.
So
you think about it. We go do a 4-year university course, or we study. We might do a course that goes for a year or 6 weeks around getting that particular qualification to get a job. But what study do we do really for relationships? And yet you grab 2 people together from a different background, a different upbringing, and mush them together and say, off you go. And of course there's going to be challenges.
Yes. So after that, how long after that did you start this business? And what's the name of your business?
So Truthability is the name of the business now. So
I love that.
It's changed name a few times. Yeah, Truthability. So I rebranded it a couple of years ago. I just pulled it apart and thought, what am I all about? What am I trying to help people with? And it just kept on coming up, truth. Mm-hmm. And I'm learning all the time. I haven't perfected my message yet, but I'm learning all the time. So, and everything I learn, I put it into a format to go, right, how can I teach somebody that? How can that make sense? And, for example, I've got the 5 pillars of truth at the moment that I'm still massaging. And that's around self-truth, being truthful with yourself. Let's start there before you expect the truth from other people. Sure. Seeking truth, actually asking, well, am I entitled to get the truth from somebody, rather than just, gossip is not truth most of the time, but thinking, why do I want the truth? What is the truth that I'm seeking? And then attracting truth. How do I go about attracting truth, particularly in situations where there's a higher likelihood of it being hidden? Speaking up and speaking the truth, having the courage to actually speak up. And I'll tell you a quick story about where I didn't speak up in the police force that I wish I had of. And also spotting hidden truth. So that's about the lie spotting. So there's kind of 5 angles to look at truth.
Okay. So, tell me the story.
So quickly, again, so I'm 22. I'm freshly graduated. I was a couple of months out of the academy, and you have to do a test to get your police car license, police driver's license. So I had my driver's license, had it for 4 years. I was a good driver, and went to get my police license. You do a 1 hour, 2 hour drive test with a senior officer. And we drove through the suburbs, and we went off the beaten track, and he said he wants to test my off-road skills. I'm like, okay. So it's like a dirt track into this bush area. And then he says, pull over. There's no cars, no houses anywhere around. And he said, how badly do you want your license? And I said,
no. I'm so afraid of where this is going.
And I said, of course I want my license, like I'm joking. Anyway, so he's actually grabbed my hand and unzipped his pants, started to unzip his pants. And he said, I can guarantee you get your license if you help me out here. And I it was a combination of shock, horror, disgust. Sure. And also I thought, is he just joking? You know,
right.
what is happening?
Right.
And I pulled my hand away and I said, what? Are you serious? And he said, come on, no one's around. It won't take long. And I'm like, oh, my heart started racing, and it was like, oh. And I said, no, let's get out of here. And he said, you sure about that? And I'm 22. I was like, what? It was disgusting. So we drove off, and my heart was still racing, and I was not focusing. At that point, I'm thinking, is he going to fail me? Should I speak up? Like, he's a senior sergeant, and I'm just a junior police officer. I was scared. I was like, wow. Anyway, because I wasn't focusing, I ended up going through a stop sign, driving through a stop sign. I slowed down, but I didn't stop. I didn't crash or anything, but I went through a stop sign. And he said, well, fail. He said, if you didn't stop at the stop sign, sorry, that's a fail. And I said, but, he goes, no, have a look on my sheet. He said, that's one of the things that you fail. And so we got back and so fair enough, he failed me. But then I thought, who can I tell? What's going to happen to me? This is the start of my police career. And I was scared. And I can't remember exactly. He said something about not telling anyone or I can't remember what it was.
Of course he did.
Yeah. So I never told anyone in my whole police time. And it was actually years even after I left the police force, the first time I told somebody about it. And they said, well, why didn't you speak up at the time? And I said, well, I was scared. I didn't know what would happen. I didn't know. It just couldn't process it in my head. And so, with the work that I'm doing now and with that story, and everyone's got a story like that, is right. How can I massage my material, my content, my knowledge to send a message across to, women in particular where that sort of situation might happen? How could what I know help them to not have to live with that?
Yes.
And how could they speak up? So, and I know that's a bit of a movement around the world.
Yes.
Is that whole speak up and Me Too,
yes.
movement. So I'm working in that space as well.
Yeah. Wow, that's profound. Thank you for sharing that story with me and with our listeners.
It's funny because my heart races when I tell it too.
I can tell. Like, of course it does.
Yeah, there's obviously still,
it's trauma. There's trauma behind that. I mean, that's, and I mean, it's just so. So, did you get your license again? Like later, you had to retake the test, or how did that work?
Yeah, I had to go back. So I went back a couple months later, and I was so scared that I was going to get the same instructor, and it wasn't. Different instructor. And I got into the car, and he seemed nice, and he said, oh, how come you missed out on it before? And I was like, oh.
You're like, well, because the other schmuck pulled his dick out.
Yeah, I know. That's what's going through my head. And I just said, I went through a stop sign. And he said, oh, okay. And so we drove off, and like 20 minutes into it, he said, you're a really good driver. And I said, oh, thank you. And he said, look, don't worry. He said, you're fine. We don't have to go any further. You've got it. And
thank God you had that experience the second time. My God. I mean, wow, that's tremendous. So, well, no wonder you have, I mean, that's what I love about hearing women's stories, and your story is so fascinating to me because you have all these pieces of your past that's how you got inspired to do what you're doing today. And when we spoke before, when we met online, we've never met in person, but it will happen one day.
We will.
I want to actually bring my son to Sydney. It's on my top of my list. Is that you said that you are currently one of the many things that you're doing. And Elly, we're going to provide Elly's website so you guys can all go see all the really exciting things she's into because it's just awesome. One of the really cool things that you're doing right now is working with women, particularly in the realm of, there was one example you gave of women my age, let's say, I'm 43, who were either single or recently divorced or so on and so forth, and trying to date and what that's like.
So, I mean, that's a big topic, isn't it? There's so many parts to that puzzle, and there's so many angles on that. So my angle, again, keeping with the theme of the work I do, is particularly around a lot of women and men too, but a lot of women say that they don't trust getting back out there to date because perhaps they've been lied to or cheated on, or they feel that out there in the dating scene that they think they're doing well with a guy and he really likes her, and then finds out that he's just, counting numbers of how many women he can get into bed. Sure. And so, the feedback that I got whilst I was training and coaching in different areas was, hey, gee, it'd be good to know how to spot deception early in a relationship so I don't invest time and emotion with the wrong person.
Yes.
Now, so there's no silver bullet on that, but there are certainly things that we can do to be able to encourage more truth from the start, and also create a foundation of truth when you think you've found somebody that you connect with, to have a different conversation with them at the start, to let them know, hey, if we're going to do this, let's start with a fantastic foundation where honesty and truthfulness is at the core of what we do. Yeah. Because it's harder kind of 2 years down the track to then, rewind, and you've already got hidden truth and twisted truth and all that. So if you can have a different conversation at the start, but then also before you get to that stage is coming back to, one of the areas around the self-truth. Are you ready to get into a new relationship? Do you have to do some healing from the past one before you can jump into a new one? And I think that's a core part of what I coach women with too, is if they keep having failed relationships or relationships that don't go in the direction they want, or choosing the wrong person over and over again, maybe they need to actually get off online dating for a while and get off the dating scene and really focus on some self-love and some self-truth, and do the work on them. Take a year working on yourself, and then come back out very, very clear about the sort of person that you want to bring into your life, rather than going, from man to man to man. And
I'm so into that right now, because I have to tell you, I'm single for the first time in 14 years. I was together with my husband for 14 years, married for 12. And I'm finding that, I tried dating for a minute and I was just like, nope, not ready. Yeah. And I'm really embracing, with the guidance of some of my mentors, just that, like, it's probably going to be a year, and I'm great with that. Like, I feel great. Like, there's no pressure for me to date or find a man, or, I don't feel like I have to have sex. If I need to go have sex, I guess I could do that, but that's not, I don't feel like I need it, but if I find that I do, I can. But I'm really investing in, like, okay, what makes me feel good, and what do I value for myself, and giving that to myself. And I think my theory is, we'll see, talk to me in a year, but my theory is, if I can know that truth for myself 100% or 99%, because it fluctuates, I'm sure, then I'll be able to communicate that to my next partner.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you think I'm on the right track? I guess
I think you're on a great track. And well, it actually starts with mapping out what sort of relationship that you want. And, I think with my Truth, Lies and Love program, I've said to women, I'm not really interested in helping you get into an average relationship, because that's kind of easy to do.
No kidding.
That's kind of what a lot of people sort of settle for, is like, hey, it's pretty good. It's good. But when you hear someone say it's pretty good, the chances are they're either going to stay in it but not really get the rewards of a great relationship, or it's going to crash and burn in a way sometime soon. And it takes effort to find somebody that is on the same page as you, but then to build that foundation of honesty and truth, and build from there and create something amazing. So I say to women, look, I don't have all the answers. It's a big puzzle, but the pieces of the puzzle that I answer can certainly help in the whole big overall puzzle, to help you to get more truth, to read behavior, to ask better questions early on too. But also, I've got this thing called a decision traffic light. So it's got the three colors of the traffic light, and it's just getting you thinking about, if he's a red, if you're hanging on to somebody, but deep down he's never going to be your Mr. Amazing. Yeah. And there's plenty of stories around that. I was coaching a lady the other day, and she's kept this guy with her for 9 months, even though she knew it wasn't going anywhere, because she wanted the companionship, but she was also worried about how to tell him that she wasn't that into him, because she didn't want to hurt his feelings.
Yes.
So but it was causing her so much stress, and she's like, oh my God. And it was almost like this obligation to catch up with him, an obligation to have sex. And she kind of liked him in a way, but she just knew he wasn't someone that she wanted to build something with. And but she didn't know how to have that conversation. And so every time she'd start to have that conversation, she'd get scared. She didn't know the words around it. And she got herself in a real pickle. So I coached her through that. and she ended up having a different conversation with him. Yes, still had tears involved, but she felt so much more empowered to be able to speak the truth and get the result that she needed. And then she was free. And then she realized she needed to do some work on herself, and she wasn't going to go back on the dating scene for a while. But, so you don't want to hang on to somebody just because, for the wrong reasons, I guess.
Yes, I love that. Oh, this is so exciting that you're doing this work, because I feel like you said earlier, there's no, unless it's modeled for you as a child with your parents, who are our first example of a relationship. Where do you learn it? I learned how to be in a relationship by watching TV. I was watching I Love Lucy and Dick Van Dyke as if those are real relationships. And it's like, no, that's not actually how it works at all. But I thought that that's what, and I would watch, once I got older and was watching more, grown up movies and things, and I would see sex scenes. And well, that's what sexy is. And it's like, no, that's what's sexy in that script for those actors in that moment. They're not even, there's like 20 people in that room and a light in her boob. And that's not, but nobody
we don't. And then there's all the Disney movies that tell us
God.
We just need to sort of, go along in life, and then maybe we're the damsel in distress for a minute, and then the prince will come along.
Yes, and rescue us.
And then when he kisses us, all the
bluebirds will land on your shoulder, and you'll be,
And then you live, as the script says, happily ever after. So that's, I think, why we get so distraught when, hang on, this is supposed to be happily ever after.
Yeah.
Like, what happened here?
So speaking of which, I want to go back to your happily ever after didn't happen with your first husband.
Yeah.
And so you made the choice to move away from that marriage, and you had two little girls, and you're a single mom, and you're working, and you start your own company, and you're doing all this exciting stuff. And how is that like? Because I know what I'm getting to that's exciting, but also a journey is that you're in a sort of new relationship and newly engaged.
Yes.
So that's wonderful. But how was that journey from the ending of that marriage to kind of where you are now? I know that's a big question, but
and it was challenging. It was tough. It was I beat myself up because I like, why couldn't I make my marriage work? Why wasn't I the person that I thought I was for him, and all of that stuff. And so for a long time, I didn't date anyone, and I was just trying to figure out what happened, what went wrong, and learn about myself again, and be the best mum that I could be, because I wasn't getting that right all the time too, because it was a hard time, and lots of single mums can relate to that for sure. And so I was on and off the dating scene, and I met guys that I thought were great. It was interesting. I had a couple of short-term relationships. But then I met my now fiance, and that was difficult in itself. We met online, and we were living in different states of Australia.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of had my checklist of my must-haves for my Mr. Amazing, and he ticked a lot of them. But the fact that he lived in a different state, which was, an hour plane flight away, and he actually is a widower, so he'd lost his wife to a battle. She'd had leukemia. And so she battled leukemia for 4 years. And they were married for 15 years. So this is a guy that is like still right in the depths of grief.
Yeah.
And he has two little boys, 6 and 9 when I met him. And so it was like, wow, hang on a second. I'm my girls are just about grown up, and we had our own challenges over there. Is this something I really want to get involved with? And I did, and it's been a tough journey. Like it's been a big roller coaster that's challenged me at times to think, is this what I want? Is this where I'm supposed to be? Yeah, it's been worth it, but it's hard. It can be hard, particularly when you have so many different pieces to the puzzle.
I bet. Well, and is he still living away in a different?
No. So we ended up moving. So he was in Adelaide, if you know Australia. Yes. He was in Adelaide, and I was in Melbourne. And then we both moved to Sydney. So he's originally from Sydney. And so a couple of years ago, he asked me to move to Sydney. And that was a tough decision too, because I had to uproot my whole life and my business, and my girls stayed in Melbourne, and that had its own challenges too. It was, why is mum just leaving us? And
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not easy. And then you try to please everyone and juggle all the balls in the air, and you can't always please everybody. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah, which I think is like, you talk about self-truth. You had to find what your truth was for that with your relationship with your fiance.
Yeah.
And that's you're not always going to please everybody. Someone just said to me, if you are really true to yourself, you'll disappoint at least one person a day. I don't know if that's
I like that,
but it's true. It is. I don't know if I'm disappointing one person a day, because I don't actually want to know, but that's probably true.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. And that's with some of my coaching clients, where I've not even the dating part of the coaching that I do, but just life coaching. I say to them, be aware that as you grow and as you become the best version of yourself, you will drop some friends along the way. There's people that will, back to what you're saying, you will disappoint people because you are becoming a better version of yourself. And even, the man you might end up with, not all your friends might like him, or, so all those choices that you make. But if you believe that you are becoming the best version of yourself and you are growing along the way, the people that fall off that journey, that's okay.
Yeah.
And, maybe they'll jump back on down the track, or maybe that's it. They're not meant to be on that next part of the journey.
Yeah. So speaking of next part of the journey, aside from this amazing course that we're all going to get for free on LinkedIn, I can't wait to get it. The A to Z of finding truth, or I'm messing up the name. What's it called?
The A to Z of getting more truth and spotting more deception.
Yes. Oh my God, that's so great. Also a sexy title. So aside from that, what else do you have? What projects do you have coming up that you're really excited about?
Oh, actually, something that's going to see me coming to your part of the world. I've just signed up with a speakers agency, so I do a lot of keynote speaking, which I love, and it's a path that I want to go down more of. And this particular agency is called Aussie Speakers USA. And so what they focus on is taking a select number of Aussie keynote speakers and promoting them in the States to particular events and conferences and so on. So when I saw that opportunity, I said at the start of the year, you know what I want to do? I want to speak in the States. And then about 4 weeks ago, I got this phone call from this agency that said, hey, we're interested in having you on our books. I'm like, oh my God, yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's so exciting.
Yeah. So I'm really, really, really keen that the truth and lies message is so adaptable to any audience. It doesn't matter whether I've got an audience of business women or an audience of emerging leaders, or it doesn't matter. I can adapt that message and leave people with things that they can use immediately. So that's my goal, Jen, is to be on the stages at conferences and events in the States in the coming sort of 6 to 12 months. So
yes. Oh, yay. Yeah. Well, I'll obviously keep in touch with you, and I will find out when and where those are so that we can let our listeners know if they can come see you if they're living nearby, because that would be so fantastic. And I love this message, and I agree with you that it's so adaptable. And I just, in this one conversation with you, have picked up some tools that I'm going to use. So thank you for that. And so we've come to the time in the interview, believe it or not, because this has gone so well and so quickly, which I love, that I have every guest, I ask them 3 questions at the end of the interview, just three questions. And then I have these lightning round questions that are just silly, fun questions that I'll ask you, quick, rapid fire.
Okay.
So the 3 questions, the first question is, Elly, what do you think about when you hear the word MILF?
I have a new map of it now because of you.
Oh, yay!
And when I first saw the name of your podcast, like, oh my God, that's so cool. So I've been telling everyone, it's like, oh, I know this beautiful woman called Jennifer, and guess what? She's got this podcast called MILF. Like, what? And then I tell them what it stands for. I'm like, okay, cool.
It's interesting, right? People get shocked at first. Like, it's like, should I be off put by that? Or, yeah. Well, good. Well, thank you. I'm glad I'm helping, reclaim that word, because that's my mission. One of my missions. The second question, Elly, is what's something you've changed your mind about recently?
Okay, I'm going to go really lame with this. I changed my mind about my hair. It was really long, and I cut it all off. And now it's like right short. As
it looks so great. I feel like when we had our video conference last time, it was longer. Was it? Because right now it looks so fresh and light. I love it. It suits you. It's very sunshiny.
Yes, it was long, and I thought, no, I think I need to go short. So
yes, I just did the same thing. I chopped all my hair off. It's really short, and I love it.
It's empowering.
Empowering. Yeah. How do you define success?
I think success. Oh wow, that's a big question. Especially for the end of it. Success is an internal feeling. Like it's not necessarily about the goal and reaching that goal. It's also about the journey to get there and who you're becoming along the way. So for me, success is growing all the time and being a different person and a better person than I was yesterday. And whether that in whatever part of my life that is. So that gives me a feeling of growth, of helping others, of achieving. And I guess that's my map of success is set your goals, but enjoy the journey along the way and grow and just keep on having gratitude for that growth.
That is an amazing answer. That's an incredible answer. Okay, now we're going to the lightning round. This is just quick. So beach or mountains?
Beach. But I like mountains too.
Favorite junk food?
Oh, probably chocolate. Is it? Yeah.
Go to the movies or go to a play?
Play.
Daytime sex or nighttime sex?
Early morning, first thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Texting or talking?
Talking.
Cat person or dog person?
I love dogs, but I have a cat, and I think the cat's going to have to win. My cat, Bella, she's going to have to win the day, yeah.
Aww. Have you ever worn socks with sandals?
Maybe to a costume party, but not as a fashion. No.
Shower or bathtub?
Oh, I love a bath. You say bath, I say bath.
Oh, I love a bath as well. So it sounds more elegant when you say bath. Cake or pie?
What sort of pie is it?
Any kind of pie you want.
Pass. I'm not really a cake or a pie person.
Oh,
maybe a homemade apple pie.
Okay. All right. You're more of a chocolate. We'll bring you chocolate when we see you. Okay.
Maybe chocolate. Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at ping pong?
6.
Oh. Let's see. If you could push a button and it would make everyone in the world 7% happier, but it would also place a worldwide ban on all hairstyling products, would you push it?
Hang on, how much happier is it going to make people?
7%. 7%.
7% happier, but it puts a ban on hair products.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm all about happiness for the world. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Who needs hair products? No,
great. I love it. Superpower choice: invisibility or super strength?
Can I tell you just quickly? I'm gonna hijack your question.
Yes.
My superpower, something that we haven't spoken about. You know, Wonder Woman. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Remember what she has? She has a lasso of truth.
Yes, of course. That's your superpower.
So it's actually something that I'm building into some of the seminars. To be able to have your own lasso of truth. And I looked into it more and more over the last couple of months about her wonderful lasso of truth and what it can do. And in one of the episodes in the magazine, she actually uses the lasso of truth on herself. Ooh. To get the truth within herself. And as I learned more about it, I thought, oh my God. So what I'm going to do for some of my women's audiences now for some of the events on that is give away lassos of truth. So I'm creating everyone's own little lasso. So you leave the event with a lasso of truth, but I give you some tips on how to use it as well. So that's the superpower that I'm developing within myself, and I'm going to help to spread as well.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we all need that. I love it.
Yeah. So I'll send you one because I'm getting them made. It's very, very special.
Love it.
Special gold lassos.
Oh, I want one. Would you rather be able to speak every language in the world or be able to talk to animals?
Wow, that's a great question. I think talk to animals.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
All right, last bit. What was the name of your first pet growing up?
I don't remember. The one I loved the most was Katie the cat, which is also my daughter's name, Katie. Katie the cat was abandoned, and we rescued Katie the cat. And yeah.
Oh, and what was the name of the first street that you grew up on as a child?
Sunset Drive.
Oh, that's very Hollywood.
Yeah,
so your stripper name, or your pole dancer name, as I like to call it, is Katie the Cat Sunset.
I love it. I'll own it. By the end of the day, I'll have the domain name registered, and I'll have a logo done too. So
I love it. Elly, thank you so much. This was such a treat and a treasure.
Thank you, Jennifer. I've had a ball, and the time's gone really fast, and I hope we can speak again. And I'll see you in Australia, and I'll see you when I come to your part of the world.
Yes. Thanks so much for listening to the show, guys. Really hope you enjoyed this episode with Elly. It was so great. And next week, I have another amazing, yes, I did use the word amazing. I have another amazing guest. Clara Bidwell-Smith is joining us on the show. If you are enjoying the show, please go in to wherever you're listening and rate us, review us, send us little love notes. You can also go to milfpodcast.com. You can find show notes, tweetable quotes, and you can also give me your email if you want to be on my newsletter list. I'm really grateful to all my listeners, and I'm just so thrilled to be doing this show. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. It's becoming its own thing. It's more than I actually even thought that it was going to be. One of those things where I just thought, I kind of want to do this thing, but I don't know how it's going to turn out. And I just leapt into it with the help of my producer and his team, now my team. And it's really been gratifying and wonderful to not just get my voice out there, but more importantly, get multiple mothers' voices out there to tell their stories. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll be speaking to you next week.